looking at an old player that played for Jose, a lot of clubs are. This is not. I want to rephrase this. A lot of fans of clubs want him in. There's talks that Chelsea are exploring it. United might be. I read a lot of articles today why Arsenal should be looking at him as well. But do you want Arsenal to sign Benzema, Dan Potts, this January as that goal scorer to maybe help you win your first Premier League title in 20 years?
Listen, if the option is we buy nobody or we buy Joshua Zirkzee or Mayoral, then I'm taking Benzema over those. Benzema is a massive upgrade on Eddie Nketiah. To be fair, probably LB is, if I'm honest. But when I look at
not me, thanks.
Yeah, well, I've watched you play. Now I'm joking.
Yeah.
I must say, I think at 36 years old, he still knows where the net is. And people keep saying to me, Arsenal just needs someone to put it in the back of the net. Well, we'll find out, won't we? If we get Benzema and he still can't do it, maybe it's a style problem. I mean, it's an Arteta problem. But for me, when I'm looking at Karim Benzema coming in, even at 36, that is an upgrade on what we've got already. Unless you believe that Eddie Nketiah and Kai Havertz are going to win Arsenal a title. I don't think they are. In fact, I can guarantee that they're not going to, right, in that position. So for me, Gabriel Jesus, I really like him. I think he's a really good footballer, but we need an upgrade on Gabriel Jesus. Why do we need an upgrade on Gabriel Jesus? Because that's what Man City needed to go and win the title, right? So that means that Arsenal are going to need to. So for me, with Gabriel Jesus as the number 2 and Benzema as the number 1, or even if he comes in as part of the squad at 36, I think it's an absolute no-brainer. He's on about £1 billion crazy a week or whatever the hell it is. I think it's like $1 million or something mad. He's obviously not going to want that when he comes to the Premier League. He's going to have to take a cut, right? So maybe he wants close to what Havertz is getting at 300k a week, whatever the hell it is. That have to go away paying that imbecile, right? So for me, we're obviously going to need to go and look at the wages, and that may affect our financial situation. But if you're asking me now, do I want Joshua Zirkzee up top, or do I want Mayoral, or whatever his name is, or do I want Benzema? I'm picking Benzema all day long. We ain't going to get a Tony. We ain't going to go and get Osimhen. It ain't going to happen this January, right? Everyone's accepted that. For me, I think it would be an absolute no-brainer. That's for me, man. That's what I would do.
LB, I've seen there's been some United fans, Chelsea and Arsenal fans recently say too old, don't want him. They should be looking towards the future as well. Do you agree? Like, you've seen obviously City play Madrid a couple of times in the last few seasons. Benzema was part of that team. Could he do it in the Premier League still for a 6-month period?
I watched him in the Club World Cup as well, because he was playing for whoever he plays for. He was there. I think it's slightly different for Man United and Chelsea, because you ain't going for the league, right? Now, Man United might look at it and say, well, if we get him in, we might be able to sneak in top 4, which would be a miracle given how you're playing right now, yeah. But for Arsenal, it makes sense because they need someone to be able to put that ball in the back of the net, yeah. And that could be the difference between winning a league title and not. If I see Arsenal fans saying no to this, I just think, what world are you living in, man? This is one of the best strikers we've seen over the last 2 decades. One of the best strikers we've seen over the last 2 decades. Put some respect on this guy's name. What, just because he's been in Saudi Arabia for a little bit, you think he's just going to completely fall off? Karim Benzema adapted his game. Yeah, as he got older, he adapted his game. He became an elite level poacher, an elite level finisher, which he's always been, but he developed that even more. He's like football IQ just went through the roof. Yeah, the year that we crumbled at the Bernabeu, we battered them. We should have gone through. Why did we not go through? Not necessarily just because we crumbled in the last couple of minutes, because I think he's got a hat trick at Argaf. His finishing is unbelievable.
He was incredible, man.
And if Arsenal can get him in on a short-term 6-month loan, I just think if you're an Arsenal fan and you're saying no to that, I just have to question why on earth you'd be saying no to that. He's better than Eddie. He's better than Jesus. Further, not only did you get like a proper elite level goal scorer, you then got Jesus, which you can then start moving around, because Saka ain't cooking. Martinelli's not cooking. When Arsenal signed Jesus from Manchester City, I told every Arsenal fan I know he's a better winger than he is a striker. Now, none of them was having it at the time because obviously it was big money signing. They didn't want to listen. They understand now what I'm saying. He's not an elite level finisher. And I think when you're going for that top 4 or whatever, yeah, it's fine. But Terry, you'll know this, and even Dan, you'll know this from when you was competing at the big time. You know, when you had the big, you've got to have elite level strikers. Did United ever win anything without elite level striker? You guys had Henry. Yeah, we winged it and had a false 9. Yeah, but let's make no modes about it. Yeah, we had a mint squad and we got one of the best managers of all time. I personally believe if you want to win the Champions League or you want to win the Premier League, you've got to have an elite level goal scorer. Now, Liverpool fans will say, well, we didn't. We had Firmino. You had Salah, mate. Salah was your forward.
And Mane scored a lot of goals as well.
Mane.
So,
You've got to have someone. I just don't see why any Arsenal fan would say no to this. It makes no sense as to why you'd say no.
Facts, mate. I can't disagree with anything you've said, mate.
The fact that he hasn't, I know that they've released a statement saying that he got a flight from Mauritius or somewhere got cancelled. That's why he's not at preseason. He doesn't want to stay out there. A lot of players don't want to remain in Saudi, money or no money. It's not a dig. Saudi, they're just starting the building of their league, and I just don't think it's for everybody right now. Ronaldo loves it. Benzema doesn't. Henderson wants to come back. You know, some other people are loving it out there. I agree with what you said. Look, I'd love him at Man United for a few months, just because I think having him around Højlund just for 6 months will be invaluable to him and the future. But I think if Arsenal don't look, you look at it now, Ivan Toney's not moving this month. Ivan Toney has pretty much come out and said, I don't think anyone's spending £100 million because of the FFP situations we've already discussed. Arsenal would be stupid to, I mean, I've been actually reading some of the comments while we've been talking from Richard Masterds. I mean, he's actually gone and called Everton a small club. Oh my God. Anyway, that's another conversation for another day. But you don't want to win the league by spending 100 million, then you get a 10-point deduction and you haven't won the league. It'd be stupid to do that. So if you're sailing close to the wind, you can't do it. Plus, Ivan Toney has pretty much said, I really want to repay Brentford for standing by me. We're in a relegation battle. They've got a player a striker at AFCON. They've got a striker out injured. He's going to stay. So what options are out there? There's a lot of young players. I mean, there's talk that United are going to come in for this Xerxes. You know, he looks talented. There's a lot of these young players and unknown entities out there that are at sort of the fledgling stage of their careers. But that isn't what you need. That means you could sign Joshua Xerxes and he could come in today and he could be amazing. Like, oh my God, we've unearthed this star. But he might take a year and a half to settle into the Premier League. I think there's much less risk with Benzema. I don't think his legs are completely gone. With the way you guys create, if it had been in your team this last 7 games, for the opportunities you create, you're winning 3 or 4 more of those games. And 100%. Suddenly there isn't a crisis. You're still top of the league, and you're probably still in the FA Cup. I think that Arsenal fans should be screaming blue murder for this deal. You should be begging for it to happen. And if in that 6-month period he's excellent and his legs are still there at his age, then another cheeky 1-year deal afterwards. It doesn't even need to be the starter every week. Just having a winner like that in your team and in your squad could be invaluable for your team. And I just don't see, other than Benzema saying no to you, I don't see any reason why Arsenal should not be making this happen. They should be making it happen. They should be getting this done. They should be bringing him through the door, because you bring in Benzema and you can win the Premier League anyway. But your chances of winning the Premier League increase tenfold with, in my opinion, it would be the greatest striker you've had at your club since Thierry Henry. And even at 36, he could I still think he'd score you 10 league goals between now and the end of the season, if not more. I really do. And Champions League as well. He's the 3rd or 4th greatest ever Champions League player. Why would you not bring him in? With the pace in your team around him, you don't need legs.
Yeah.
All you got to do is creating them chances of all your runners doing the hard work, and that man will bag you goals. You might win something massive this year. Arsenal should be getting it done.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Absolute facts, man. Absolute facts in what you're saying. And will we get it done? No. I don't think we will sign a striker. I really don't. I think Mikel Arteta believes Eddie Nketiah is the guy, and he believes that Havertz is there, and we've still got Trossard and Jesus.
What's that about, Dan? What's that about? Let's cut the BS here. Why is he doing this with Nketiah? That Nketiah, yeah, is clearly not good enough to play for Arsenal, in my view. Yeah, clearly not good enough. Why is he giving him a new contract? Why is he still there?
Because he's stubborn, bruv. It's his decision. He's decided to put the number 14 on his back, which people say don't matter. Yeah, numbers don't really matter, but it means a lot to the club and the fans at Arsenal, right? Number 14. Thierry made that number himself. Nobody goes into a club and wants number 14, please. They want it at Arsenal because it's Thierry Henry's number, right? So that does mean a lot. 100K a week. Yeah, madness. The last away goal this kid has scored was at Oxford away in the FA Cup in January of last year. Right, that's the last away goal he scored. Wow. And he had the arrogance to start him up front against Fulham. He has literally got no, I've got it wrong in him. And that's going to let him down. He's going to fall. He's do the same with Havertz, mate. Oh, Havertz, he's been brilliant for Arsenal. He scored 4 goals. Chaka only scored 7. Look at some of the performances stinking the place out. Arteta is a stubborn man. And he's going to be falling on his sword. And if you do not upgrade on Eddie Nketiah, who, let's be real, would struggle to get in a lot of Premier League sides. People might say, oh, he might do right at Palace, Burnley. Exactly. So go do that over there then. I don't want people that are good enough for Palace or Burnley. We're just talking about Benzema. We're just talking about who can come in, Osimhen or Tony. Or Isak, another guy that people are talking about that I'd absolutely love and wanted before he went to Newcastle. We kept Eddie Nketiah instead of releasing the clause of that dude. Would you have paid 70 million for Isak and had him, or do you want to stick with Eddie? He stuck with Eddie. This is a poor decision from a manager that has made a lot of recruitment errors that everyone seems to think he's got everything right. There is so many players that he's got wrong. And unfortunately, I've got to say it. I have to say it. He's got this one wrong with Eddie Nketiah. So for me, if anybody believes that Arsenal are winning the league with Eddie Nketiah as their backup striker, maybe go watch basketball because football ain't for you. Trust me. It's absolutely mad to expect Eddie Nketiah to go and do something. It's mad. I'm sorry. And I don't even hate on the kid. I don't even blame him, Lil B. I don't even blame Eddie Nketiah. He's coming and playing for Arsenal. This is his dream.
Course not. It's not
He's
his
loving
fault.
it. This is not his fault. It's just not good enough.
Fault.
Right?
This is Arteta's fault and the club's fault for giving a contract to someone who isn't good enough. No, people talk about he's young. He's 24, isn't he? 25 or something.
Yeah, he's 24. Same age as Marcus Rashford and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah,
people don't look at them as kids.
That
crazy,
is wild.
Man. It's absolutely crazy.
I'll tell you what, you know the Benzema thing, yeah? The biggest thing I could say, right? Big up Roms as well. You probably agree with me.
Yeah, big
you
up
guys
Roms.
if you guys sign Benzema this January on a loan, yeah, I'm worried about Arsenal. Because right now I'm sitting here thinking, I just don't think you guys have got what it takes, right? That's what I think. Obviously, like Terry, I think you could still win it. You're not falling off. But at the moment, I just looking at how you played this year, looking at your squad, I just don't think you've got what it takes to win it this year. You sign Benzema, now I'm like, you know what? Now this is serious. Now this is serious. And I'm sure all City fans would agree. I'm sure most Liverpool fans would agree. Benzema, mate, they destroyed Liverpool as well. But it's not my club. The guys just dunked on, yeah. Yeah, remember the Champions League when there was like bare goals at Anfield, yeah? So that guy's dunked on Liverpool as well. He'll bring that winning mentality. Like because obviously you tried to get this a little bit with Zinchenko and Jesus when you bought them. You bring Benzema to that club, you watch your standards rise. Your training sessions will rise. Everything about your football club, whilst he's there, will rise because he will bring in that mentality of, I'm not here. Because obviously he won't be getting £1 million a week. I don't know what happens with the money, but he'd be coming here to try and win the Prem. He'd drag your levels up. I think if it's available, and I don't know if it is, if this deal is available, your club would be ridiculously stupid not to pull the trigger on it. Ridiculously stupid.
I'm looking at you mentioned Alexander Isak earlier, and there's talk that there could be players available from Newcastle because they've made a loss of £73 million in the last financial year, and they might have to sell some players. And I get some Arsenal fans are loyal to their own. Eddie Nketiah has scored 19 Premier League goals in 108 Premier League appearances for Arsenal. Okay, Isak, 38 Premier League games, 20 goals. So he has one more goal in almost just over a third less games. And you've got to throw in there as well that Isak had a really bad injury last year that kept him out for almost half the season, and he's come back and looked even better. I'm not saying you're going to get Isak now in January. I think that's an impossible deal. But maybe that's an option. Maybe you get Benzema 100%. For 6 months, and then in the summer, you've got Tony available, you've got Isak that's out. And I think that
100%.
There's a time to strike against Newcastle right now. I think another 3 or 4 years as Newcastle's money increases, it's going to be impossible to get their best players off them. Now is probably the last time you're going to be able to take a top player away from Newcastle.
Facts.
I really do believe that. So you look at Bruno Guimaraes, you look at Isak as an example. Listen, Joe Linton as a midfielder, he might be out for the rest of the season, not as a striker. There's some players in there. Livramento's just gone. There's a few that you might look at and go, maybe now's the time if they've got some financial issues to take them. But that's what Arsenal should be looking at. And I kind of don't buy a substandard striker now for 50 million if your number 1 or 2 targets are only available in the summer, because you can't make every decision for the here and now. One of the biggest nonsense is that fans say, it's not my money, I don't care, just spend it. That's what Everton and Nottingham Forest have done. They're in trouble, whether we like FFP rules or not. But the Benzema one, I know I've been reading the comments while you gents were talking, and nobody, absolutely nobody, other than he ain't got legs, hasn't put in it. There's not been one single reason other than the money. And I'll address the money. Yes, he's got, someone says 4 million a week. Lies, 1 million a week. Most of that is image rights. And if he came on loan, the image rights would still be owned by Saudi. The Saudi government would still own that. Therefore, Arsenal don't have to pay £1 million a week to get him. It would cost 200,000 or 300,000. A player of his ability is still worth that. The image rights would remain in Saudi Arabia, so you wouldn't need to pay that. So the money is no excuse. Outside of that, I haven't seen one good reason why Arsenal shouldn't get him. It's all just preference or but my Eddie or but this guy. Listen, if you sit in there thinking Eddie's going to come good and score you the goals, if you sit there and think that Jesus is going to become prolific, you're deluding yourselves. The only argument that makes sense, I think, if you feel that Saka and Martinelli are going to click into gear and start scoring, at least there's some empirical evidence that shows they can score more and play better. That's kind of true because they've done it before. But the idea that Jesus will become prolific, Jesus is a very good player, by the way, I think important for Arsenal. Can you imagine Jesus playing off a Benzema?
Yes.
Playing off a Benzema, suddenly Arsenal are another level of team. They're another level of team then.
The other thing, Tell, right, that people are not talking about, and I don't know why, maybe it's because they want to stick up for the manager again, right? But for me, we are talking about getting Benzema, which I would absolutely love, by the way. The reason we're not talking about anybody else other than the young players that are unheard of is because of bad planning and recruitment in the summer. Because we spent £65 million on Kai Havertz, right, which we could have put towards a striker. Like, I don't know, whoever. I don't care who. I'm fed up of bringing up names. When I look at it, I'm thinking, we spent £65 million. And people go, why did Arsenal spend £100 million on Rice in the summer? What a waste when they now haven't got any money in the summer. No, that's not the problem. We needed Declan Rice. We needed more, but we needed Declan Rice. It wasn't David Raya's £3 million loan deal. That's got nothing to do with it. The goalkeeping situation is a separate thing you can talk about. But that's not the reason Arsenal can't afford anyone. The Kai Havertz one at £65 million is crazy, bro. Absolutely crazy. So now Arsenal have to try and loan a Benzema or go and get a Joshua Zirkzee for a couple of £1 million. Mate, it is madness. Absolute madness. And the Eddie Nketiah thing, by the way, he's actually got a worse goal to game ratio than Nicholas Bentner. And people are sticking up for this guy, right? Was Bentner good enough for Arsenal? Would you have Bentner back in Arsenal? Because that's what we're dealing with here. This is the level of player we're talking about.
There's a super